Hi everyone, welcome to Off Shelf Books. I just want to share with you a Bible. It is the Message by Eugene Peterson, the Bible in contemporary language. And I know what probably some of you are thinking already. Am I trying to endorse the Message? I definitely am not going to be endorsing the Message. Instead, I just want to share my experience with the Message. I know a lot of people are divided on this, whether it's a helpful Bible or not even an actual Bible translation in of itself. So I just wanted to share my experience with the Message and what this book has meant to me throughout the years, and kind of let you draw your own conclusions by what you think of the Message. Off the get-go, I probably would not endorse the Message overall as an official translation. I don't believe it is an official translation. I know you can go to Bible.com or BibleGateway.com, and under their translations, they will put the Message in there. So I think it's widely viewed as a translation, but I would say it's officially not. I'm not even sure if I would even say it's paraphrased. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, but it's more of it's basically his rendering of the Bible, and his goal was to basically make the Bible come alive. I don't know if I would fully agree with that assessment, because the Bible is already alive. It would actually go against what the Bible actually says, how the Bible is alive and active. It's sharper than a double-edged sword. But I get what he was trying to go with. He was trying to provide contemporary language in a way to help people understand some of those difficult verses. And so when I first came across the Message, I was quite impressed with, the wording. I was struggling to understand many parts of the Bible. And so to come across this type of Bible, it really helped me with a lot of difficult verses. Now that I am reading the ESV, that is my favorite translation, and it is quite an accessible translation. I would hope so, if it's called the English Standard Version. But even then, even with the ESV, there are a few verses from time to time that I struggle with, and sometimes I do cross-reference on the Message to kind of just get a different wording of that scripture, and I can't tell you how many times it has helped me in the past. I purchased this. This is quite an old book. This is the numbered edition, the 2005. So I've had this since 2005. I don't read from it much anymore, but when I first had this book, it was a very helpful companion, and it was quite funny. I would actually bring this Bible to a Bible study. One of my first ever Bible studies my friends invited me to, I brought this book out, and when we would kind of go around in a circle and read particular messages. And so when it came to my turn, I would read this, and everyone in my group gave a really weird look on their face, like, what is he reading? This doesn't make sense, because they all had their NLT, NIVs, KJVs. So they're all reading off that. I was the only one with the Message, and because I truly believed this was an official translation. And that kind of gave me a bit of an insight that, this is definitely a very different Bible than what I have. As I really began diving into the Bible more, I came to realize, the Message, it's great, but in terms of studying the Bible and really studying the context, you're not going to get much from this. This version has verse numbers, which I appreciate, because I think their earliest versions, they didn't have any. And I know some people really love that because it read more like a novel, and I think that was a huge selling point. But that was another challenge too. When it came to cross-referencing, I struggled with that. It made it very difficult, especially when I want to look up exact particular verses. So this one, it is nice that they have verse numbers, but even then, unfortunately, it's not verse by verse. Some of them, they do have singular verses. They actually have sections. So this one here, 17 to 19. But if you want to look for verse 18, it's nowhere to be found here. Here's one, a massive chunk here. Verses 9 to 14. And so when you have these large chunks, it's hard to find out which one is verse number 12 or verse number 11. If you really want to look up a particular verse, this is probably the downside of the Message, and that's why it became a stumbling block in terms of studying the Bible, especially specific verses. But let's go over to John 3:16, the most popular verse in the Bible. So let's read it right here. This is how much God loved the world. He gave his son, his one and only son, and this is why, so that no one need be destroyed by believing in him. Anyone can have a whole and lasting life. So that is a pretty cool perspective on that verse. I mean, not to say we don't understand the ESV version, but it gives, I think this is what Eugene was trying to say about making the verses come alive. Not that they need to be, but it does give a unique take on it. But again, we just fall into the problem here of verse numbers. This is 16 to 18, so you don't know. And even during my Bible study days, they would ask, Evan, could you read, John 3:16 to 17? And so when I come to a part like this, I wouldn't know where verse 17 ends. So that was another struggle I had when bringing the message to Bible study. This particular one I have here, it's a pretty bare bones one. There's not really many bells and whistles. Even here, there's no red letters when Jesus speaks in the Gospels. I don't think I have any maps in here. Let's see what I have at the end here. The story of the Bible in 5 acts. I think that's probably the only extras I have here. I don't think there's any concordance. Just a very compact version. Yeah, those are my thoughts. This is a fantastic resource to cross-reference. I think now we just live in this time where it's just so easy to just go to BibleGateway.com or any of those Bible software websites. They all have tremendous ways where you can just do a cross-reference. So to actually buy a physical message, it's almost becoming unnecessary in my opinion. Is it completely irrelevant? No, but I would definitely not treat this as accurate theology. If you're really wanting to study the Bible, this is not the version you want at all. But if you just want to understand what's going on, it is worth it in some respects. But this really is the training wheels in some regard. But you know what? There's so many translations out there. You may not, even the NLT, I think you could do just fine. I will say this, I would not recommend buying the message, and I don't endorse it as an actual translation, but it certainly has helped me, especially in those earlier years of studying the Bible. So it does hold a little special place in my heart, but now I'm on to even more in-depth translations. And I must say, once you leave the message behind, there's a whole new world of understanding the Bible, and it actually becomes very exciting.